This episode's going to be a little bit different because I want to explain to you about why this channel exists and how it came to be, and really the two stories in the Bible that actually, well, changed one woman's life and in the end changed mine as well.
I still hear you in the breeze, see your shadows in the trees, holding on, memories never change.
It's hard to know really where to begin with this story, but it really begins, I think, about a year ago from the time of this recording. A friend of mine was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses in Ontario. And she had been studying with them for a while, and what wound up happening is that she was so enamored with what she had come to believe about God and the future and so on, based upon what the witnesses had told her from the Bible. And she wanted to get baptized. She really wanted to have a relationship with God, and she felt that baptism was important. But one thing that she really couldn't begin to understand was why it was so important to have to be going and knocking on doors first and being what Jehovah's Witnesses call a publisher before she could get baptized. This didn't seem to really jive with her view of what's really important to God. Now, all the time that she had been studying, she knew that I used to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses and wasn't anymore. And so she had questions for me, and we would talk on the phone for sometimes an hour or two at a time, just about some of the things that she had been learning. And while I wanted to respect my friend's decision to study with the witnesses and not be one of those people that, just immediately, no, 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 no. At the same time, I was also worried about her and knowing full well what she was getting involved in. But I decided to be diplomatic about it. In the end, one day when she called me up, and this is after I had learned about the Australian Royal Commission and had been watching the John Cedars channel for some time, she called me up to ask me about the issue of having to be a publisher before getting baptized. And that's where the diplomacy melted away. I was not going to hold back anymore. I wasn't going to be silent anymore about what I had learned. So when she asked me, why should I have to get baptized first? I just said to her flat out, because they want to control your life, and that's one of the hoops that you're going to have to jump through, and it's a made-up rule that has no basis in the Bible. And this really took her by surprise, because she wondered, well, then why are they doing it? And so I asked her, well, what are they telling you and showing you to prove that you have to be a publisher before you get baptized? And she said, well, there's this green book, Organized to Do Jehovah's Will, that they keep showing me. And in chapter 8, it says that in order to get baptized, you have to be a publisher first. And I said to her, okay, maybe you should ask them what scriptures that's based upon. And then she asked me flat out, well, is it really based upon any scripture in the Bible at all? And I said, no, it's a man-made rule, and I'll prove it to you. I asked her to open her Bible to the book of Acts. And I said to her, no doubt you've been told this is like the activities of the first century Christians. And she said, yep. And I said, okay, if you look in chapter 9 or 10, where Peter goes to visit Cornelius, I said Cornelius was the first quote-unquote Gentile that was going to be a Christian, basically. And I said to her, read the account, because when you look at it, you find out that this man wasn't even part of the chosen nation and everything else, but Peter went to his house, explained to him about Jesus, the Messiah, the whole kit and caboodle. And in the end, Peter said, is there any reason why nobody here should be baptized? And Cornelius and his household on that same day were baptized. And she's like, that's really something. I said, nowhere does it say that they were going and knocking on doors first. She said, okay, well, that's really something. I said, but don't just go to her with that one. I said, I'll arm you with another one. Also in the book of Acts, there's a story of the Ethiopian eunuch. And one day he's riding in his chariot, he's reading out of the scrolls of Isaiah, and there's one part that he doesn't fully understand. And so as he's reading about it, Philip, one of the first century Jehovah's Witnesses, proceeds to run up alongside the chariot, and he says, I see you look like you're having trouble understanding that there. And the eunuch invites him up into the chariot to explain what the deal is in this book of Isaiah that he doesn't fully understand, and apparently it has to do with Jesus Christ or something like that. And as they go riding along, Philip explains it to him, and then they come to a body of water, and those of you that are former Jehovah's Witnesses, you know what happens. The Ethiopian eunuch looks at Philip and says, look, a body of water. What prevents me from getting baptized? And they get up out of the chariot right there, and they go down and they get baptized. And so my friend said, well, wow. I said, exactly. He didn't have to go knocking on doors first. So armed with these two accounts, and then also arming her with a scripture in 2 Peter, right towards the end where it says that people would twist the scriptures for their own benefit and so on, I said, you go back to the person that you're studying with, show her these two accounts and this scripture, and ask her, where is Watchtower getting this rule from that I have to be a publisher first before I can be baptized? Well, interestingly enough, the woman that she was studying with happened to be an elder's wife. So according to, let's call it witness mythology, she was supposed to be incredibly knowledgeable. Like, this woman was a pioneer and everything else. And she couldn't understand it. She just kept pointing her back to chapter 8 of the organized book. And so she came to me, like this was happening over text. And she came to me and she said, so, like, all they keep doing is pointing me back at chapter 8 of this book. And I said to her, you tell them that they have to show you only from the Bible. No Watchtower publications allowed. The basis for this rule about being a publisher first. And I said, and they should be more than happy to meet this challenge because there are experiences in their literature where people basically made that challenge of someone knocking on their door and were supposedly convinced and converted using only the Bible, no literature whatsoever. So I said to her, this should be easy. Well, this woman started to get all huffy puffy, and then she invited her elder husband to try and explain it. And all he did too was say, well, you should go and read chapter 8 of the organized book. And my friend, bless her heart, said, no, it's very clear to me that you guys are just making up the rules as you go along, and you have nothing to do with the Bible. I think you're full of shit. Goodbye. And she stopped her studying right there and then. And interestingly enough, a few days later, she was baptized, but not as a Jehovah's Witness, thankfully. It was a different denomination, which I cannot remember who it was. That's not important, though. The important part is that using these two accounts from the Bible that directly contradict what Watchtower was trying to set down as the rules, her thinking cap, if you will, was just, she was able to put that right on. And yeah, she ceased studying with them. And then afterwards, she got to find out about the Australian Royal Commission from yours truly. And she even started watching some apostate videos. She got to see some videos from the John Cedars channel. I directed her to jwfacts.com. And yeah, she said to me later on, she's like, I'm so glad that you filled me in. Otherwise, I would have gone down that road and it would have been ridiculous. The story is difficult to tell you because that was about a year ago or so. And I remember thinking to myself that, I was able to, with just a few thoughts off the top of my head, I was able to help her see how much Watchtower was just making up rules and had little to nothing to actually do with really what the Bible had to say, despite what they claim. She was the first one that I helped to avoid being indoctrinated into the Jehovah's Witness cult run by the Watchtower Corporation. She was my first bit of activism, as it were. And after saving her from the cult, that's when I realized that, well, if I was able to help her, who else might I be able to help? And thanks to her, this channel exists. Without her, I don't know that I ever would have started this channel. I don't know that any of the videos that you may or may not have seen already would ever exist. Sadly, my friend, who was really more like my little sister, passed away on December 5th. So this video is dedicated to her memory. This entire channel and all of my activism is dedicated to her. Because without her, I don't know that I ever would have spoken up as loudly and clearly as I do now. She was the spark that started this fire in me with regards to participating in activism. And I will always be grateful to her for that. My takeaway from all of this is you never know who you might be able to help. One thing is very clear is that there is a lot of people in the general public that need to be educated with regards to this cult. And that's where my activism focuses. I don't have any family members or friends inside the cult that I'm interested in getting out. But if you are in and you are watching this video and perhaps you are PMO, I really do feel for you. What you are going through is very difficult. And just know that there is support on the outside if when you decide that you need to be POMO and just physically out as well as mentally out. I wish you all nothing but the very best. There will be, of course, be more videos. There's a number of topics that I want to discuss and address. There's lots more exposure about Watchtower that needs to be made, and I will continue to do so. Thank you for watching this video, and be talking to you soon.